Hello there. Hi, Eddie. How are you? Thank you for joining and this me today with this conversation. We've been doing these podcasts with technology influencers and leaders, and I'm really excited to have you on here today. And I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourself. I met you at CO Navigate and in London in Europe last year, which was 2023. And the thing that will always stick in my mind about that meeting is that you came up to me and you were like, "Oh my God, I've been wanting to meet you forever." And then I looked up your social profiles and I was like, "Holy cow, this person is so well known. Like you were such an influence." I was so humbled that you knew me, and then you made me feel so welcome and you introduced me to a huge number of wonderful people. And well, I'm forever thankful for that. So thank you. And thank you again for joining me. Now that I've probably made you blush, why don't you give a short introduction of who you are for our audience?
Thank you so much for that amazing shout out and introduction. I really appreciate it. And it's great to geek out with you. So I'm so grateful to always geek out with you, but especially today as well, where we get to have a chat and share it with the community. As you mentioned, my name is Eddie Jaoude, and I'm really passionate about open source and getting everyone into open source. I have the open source community Eddie Hub. It's completely free for people to come and talk about some of their challenges as a contributor or a maintainer, and everyone shares their perspective, which is a great way for all of us to learn because after 20 or so years, I don't want to say my age, I'm still learning as well. And that's what I love about our community and our industry. We're all learning and sharing all the time.
Mhm.
I've been coding, like I said, for almost 20 years, full stack developer, and then I went freelancing kind of over a decade ago, and it's been amazing. I know we're going to touch on the topic today of the current market, and I'm really a big advocate of people kind of creating their own luck as well, and working hard, working smartly. And I'm a digital nomad, so I travel the world. So currently in London again, just arrived in London, and came from Portugal, where I spent the last few months, and I got a few trips planned this year to some hot tropical countries as well. And hopefully our paths cross again, because I can't wait to geek out with you again at a conference as well. But thank you so much for having me here today. I'm an open book, so let me know what you would like to talk about, and we can chat about anything you want.
Okay, well, perfect. And we won't get into the job market. It's just a depressing topic. But that is kind of where, as you and I were talking, what kind of popped in my head is that there are a lot of people that are out there, a lot of individuals that are out there, maybe unemployed or underemployed or unhappily employed. And what you were sharing with me, what I found was really interesting as I look down and read my notes, is that you use being a developer as an opportunity to build your brand and drive awareness to the projects that you're really passionate about open source in general. So I'd love to just have you share your story, and hopefully some people find inspiration in that to, kind of follow and make that their story. So like, how did you get
Sure,
started? Yeah, give me your story.
sure. So if I go right to the beginning, let's say I've been coding for, I don't know, 15 to 20 years, and a few years into my journey, I found a bug in an open source project we were using, and someone said, "Well, why don't you fix it and improve it? It's open source." And I did a bit of research, and they helped me understand what it was. I kind of knew what it was, but didn't know like how to do it, if that makes sense. Like some people know what a car is, but they don't know how to drive it. So I knew what open source was, but I didn't know how to really get involved. So they helped me, and I fixed the bug in the documentation. It wasn't like anything crazy, and I did that, and I was like, "Oh, this seems quite interesting." And then I did about 10 more of those fixing bugs. Let's be honest, we all start off with fixing kind of typos and bugs in documentation. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. People have helped me. I've met loads of people around the world. I even was, I think, chatting online with an author of a book that I read about this tool. So I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And they were so down to earth. And to be honest, from there, my world really changed. And then, roll on a few more years, I was getting some really good freelancing gigs and contracts because of my open source contributions. It really helped me stand out, helped my resume stand out massively. And then someone said, "Well, why don't you, go speak about, what you're doing at conferences?" I was like, "Really? I'm getting nervous about speaking to my three colleagues that I work with every day." So for me, that was just something I could never really do. I mean, let me give you an example, and this I talk a lot now, so people might not appreciate, understand this, but I would speak to my three colleagues, say at my desk, we're just all sitting down and they're at their desk next to me and we'll be chatting. And I'm saying, oh, I've done this, I do it this way or this way, what do you think? And they said, oh, I like that conversation. Let's go grab our lunch and we'll grab a meeting room, have a lunch together, and you can put your laptop on the big screen. Oh my God, I was so nervous. I wouldn't even have lunch. I'd go to the bathroom like 100 times before that kind of, unofficial meeting. But it's the same three people that I was just chatting with at my kind of computer. Nothing has changed. But because it became kind of official that the lights, as it were, like are on me, I would hate it, and I wouldn't be able to talk about what I was doing, even though an hour before I was so passionate about what I was talking about. I found these two solutions, and which one do you want? And now I was like, I don't know about what solutions, and it was just a real mess. So yeah, that was quite hard. But I started doing like joint talks with people and kind of, I don't know, doing small things. And then I started, seeing the benefit, building up my confidence slowly. And then I gave a few small talks, like lightning talks, like 5 minutes, which felt like an hour. Although now when I get given a 30-minute slot, I have to cut down my talk to 30 minutes because I overrun. So it's a complete opposite problem. And then as I was kind of doing these small lightning talks, someone said, well, you should kind of, document your journey on Twitter or on YouTube and so forth. And so I started doing that. And I was going to a lot of events at the time to support my friends and to watch. I said, document the events on YouTube. So I started doing that, and it started building a lot more of my confidence. And it was really hard to talk to the camera. It's really strange. I'd have the camera off, not recording, and I'd practice talking to it, and it'd be fine. I'd hit record, and I couldn't say two words, and it'd be just so odd, like nothing had changed. So yeah, but after practice, really enjoyed it, and I started documenting my tech adventures on socials. And then from there, my world changed again, and I just started getting inundated with job offers, permanent, contract, freelance, like just companies would come to me and just say, well, we don't have any roles open at the moment, but we really want you to come work with us. We'll make a role. What do you want to do? And it was just amazing. And so I started doing more of it. And then other things happened that I was just super surprised of, because I was so used to kind of getting negotiated down. So if I wanted a certain amount of money, I'd add 10% because I'd try and knock 10 or 20% off. And then things started changing again where I started getting negotiated up, which is really unheard of, but it started happening kind of more frequently where I'd say, I want X amount, and they'd be like, no, we'll give you 20% more. And I'd be like, what? And it was just really strange. And it was just such a breath of fresh air. And I really wanted this for everybody else as well, for those people to stand out from the crowd. And it also taught me that tech projects, coding projects are not really about code. Like coding is such a small part. Like going back 10, 15 years, it was very different. Like coding was the most important. The developer was the most important. If testing didn't make it, if accessibility didn't make it, if security testing didn't make it, doesn't matter. We got the code done. We kind of threw it over to the users and hope it worked. But really the real projects, and more recently, I've noticed that collaboration is the most important, right? We have the whole kind of DevOps came around about 10 years ago. Yes, recruiters ruin it and they think it's a job role, but really, I'm trying to think of the founder of it, Dubois, what's his first name? Patrick Dubois. He came on a live stream with me and he talked about it. And it's about collaboration. It's removing those silos. And for me, that works kind of in every direction, right? We have TDD for test-driven development, but really I think we should have, I was going to say DDD for documentation-driven development, but DDD exists for domain-driven development. So that doesn't work, but like docs DDD or something, I don't know. But you get the idea, right? The whole point is like do the things that get forgotten about first, and effectively they're all collaboration. And so for me, like in the Eddie Hub community, we say collaboration first, code second, because there's no point coding if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't know what the user wants, or you don't know what the product owner wants or anything like that. You've kind of really got to collaborate. And to give a real concrete example here, let's talk about an open source project. We have a discussion about an idea in GitHub discussions, Discord, wherever it is. It's a discussion, it's a collaboration, it involves communication. And then we raise an issue of a potential, task that we're going to do. And again, there's no code, there is just collaboration, who's going to get it assigned, how we're going to achieve it, what are the technical a bit more of the technical details. And then it gets assigned and someone goes away and makes some project changes. I'm not going to say code, I'll say project changes, because it could be tests, documentation, infrastructure, it could be anything. So they make changes to the project and they raise a pull request. And a pull request is nothing fancy. It is effectively an issue with project changes to it. It's still got a title, it's still got a description, but it has project changes to it. And then we collaborate on those changes. You know, we do inline comments, we do an overall review, and even the people who aren't maintainers can get involved in that discussion and give their thoughts and their reviews as well. Yes, a non-maintainer can't hit merge or close, but they can do everything else, which is the most important part. So really, we kind of have that discussion, we communicate, collaborate. We raise an issue, we communicate, we collaborate. We raise a pull request, we communicate and collaborate with a little bit of project changes. So really, like, coding or project changes is such a small part of what we do. That's a message I like to get across. And I think to stand out from the crowd, we should document our journey, whatever platform or medium people want to do, but we'll learn how to communicate better. I'm still learning all the time, but I'm way better than I was a year ago, which is way better than I was 10 years ago. And we only improve those core skills. I don't like to use the word soft because they're really hard. But to improve those core skills is by practicing, and I think that's super important. I know in the past when I've hired for clients, I've hired someone who had better collaboration and communication skills over someone who had better technical skills, because they can't collaborate within the team and they're just going to kind of go down a rabbit hole and just, you know, code by themselves and not collaborate with the team. Then it's kind of pointless. You want everyone to pull in the same direction. I've probably gone a bit off tangent, but it's a super passionate topic of mine.
It is. And it kind of, it's really interesting. I was writing some notes as you were talking that you kind of have gone from this, you know, entry developer, huge introvert. And you and I've talked about this. We are both introverts, and the world is like, no, you're not, you're extroverts. But that's another topic. But you've gone from this young developer / introvert, and just through little baby steps, just small. I mean, you didn't do anything grand. You just did little things that turned you into more of an expert, and it really built on your confidence. And then you've gone into this next phase of being a collaborator and bringing people together, which is so powerful. And now you're even into this next phase, this next part of the journey, I guess, and where you're seen as a leader and a guider and a mentor. And what I really took away from you talking is, like, you've gone from, you know, starting at level 0 being a developer, and now you are seen as a leader as in open source and collaboration and tech development. And what I'd like our audience to pull away is, it was the little things. I was writing down, you started with lightning talks. You started with, you know, doc edits on an open source project. And then you started documenting your journey, which brought awareness and the brand to you. So I don't know if there's a question in there, but that's kind of what I took away from, in a summary of what you've done. And I guess the point, any of us can do that.
Absolutely. I love that.
Do you think when you started and set out and started doing these things, you're like, I'm going to be a leader in the open source? Or were you just like, I love doing this, and it just, like, each time you were successful, it brought out a new skill that allowed you to incrementally grow? Do you think that? Yeah.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail right on the head. I didn't look kind of, you know, 5, 10 years down the line. Yes, it's good to have kind of a North Star and aim for it, but I was really just looking at kind of tomorrow. Can I just make myself a bit better tomorrow? And I just kept on doing that. And, you know, on that day or the following day, I felt I improved a little bit, or I did a small lightning talk or even a joint talk with someone, which really helps, and I highly recommend people do. And I'd walk away and go, oh, that was a bit challenging. I loved it. And I pushed myself that little bit further. And without realizing, I started doing bigger and longer talks and workshops. I mean, I gave a talk a few months ago to 3,000 people. I mean, a few years ago, I would never have thought I could do to 50 people, let alone 3,000. And to be honest, now it's just a number. Like, I don't even think about that.
Yeah.
There are pros and cons to speaking to smaller groups. I do love that kind of interaction forward and backwards of the smaller groups, but that's a separate discussion. But again, the point I'm trying to make is that the number doesn't matter to me anymore. I just love to start the conversation. I know you said a leader. I like to see myself as a person who starts the conversation and shares their knowledge, and hopefully I can have that conversation with people and I can learn from them as well. I really believe I can learn from everybody because they've got different perspectives, which I think is important.
Yeah, and that comes back to, I agree too. I agree 100%. I'm the same way. And I think, and people, as you did, as others say, when they meet me or I agree to, when I say, yeah, let's talk, they're like, oh my God, thank you. And I'm like, no, I'm no better, I'm not any better than anybody else. I just happen to be maybe doing this longer. And, I put, my brand out there is that I am willing to share. And I love talking about the things that I know what I'm doing, what I'm good at. But it's a community in my case, as well as yours. It's a learning journey. It's always changing, right? Um, so I love that. So you've had an amazing journey. If you were to give a couple pieces of advice to somebody who's out there, who's just like, I'm feeling lost, right? I'm just feeling lost. What advice would you give?
I love that question. I think that's yes, it's such a short and simple question, but really powerful at the same time. So I really love that question. And I would say, number one, they need to join a community or join two communities. And if you join 10 communities, be prepared to leave most of them. Like, you can't be active in 10 communities. I think that doesn't work. That's like joining 10 gyms and never going. It doesn't work. You need to, join one or two communities, and be active. Like, get involved in the conversation, help people. And sometimes helping people just means listening. Like, you don't have to be an expert to help someone. Just talking through the problem, they usually go, oh, I found it, thank you so much. Yeah, you've just kind of talk through the problem with them. So I'd say definitely join a community. The second thing I would say is, don't ask for a mentor. Mentors are amazing, but don't ask for one. Why would you want one perspective? Everyone is your mentor. So by getting involved in the collaboration and communication, then everyone is your mentor, and be prepared to learn from anyone. Someone with 20 years experience, someone with 1 day experience, you can definitely learn from them as well. So don't try and get a mentor, have everyone as your mentor. Best answer. That's why I think it's better to discuss in public, because then you'll get those different perspectives and you can choose the best kind of, or even combine the answers that are best for you as a person, because no one really knows that person's situation. Even though you might have shared a bit, there might be some other things that they haven't shared that they might think are not so important or too private. So by asking the question in public, you get, like, rather than one answer in a DM, you kind of get 10 answers, and then you can kind of mix and match those ones. And I would say people should share their journey as they go along, and be honest. Share the successes, share the failures, just keep it authentic. And seeing a lot of things on socials, again, which is a separate conversation, but seeing a lot of things on socials become very much AI generated content, and I think that is getting a bit of a spike and boost at the moment, but I can definitely see that dying. The amount of accounts I've muted or blocked or have you, I don't want that low quality, high volume content. So for me, my time is super precious. So I want to see the high quality content from authentic people. And by high quality, I don't mean it has to be superly, it's not even a word, super produced, or it doesn't have to be from someone with 100 years experience. I just want to see that authentic content. I love following people who are new to tech and seeing what their challenges are, because then that helps me create my content and so forth. So for me, I don't never look at the vanity metrics when I follow people. So I look for the authenticity of it. Was that 2 or 3? I can't remember where I got to.
Well, I think it's a great start for everybody. So to end today, I just tell us what you're doing next.
Oh, a really good
About what you're
question.
doing next. Yeah. Well, I'm not asking you to share something that you're not ready to announce, but
I don't mind.
yeah.
I don't
Or
mind.
tell me about the amazing tropical locations that you're going to next.
We'll come back to that. So what I'd like to share is I built an open source SaaS product last year with the community called BioDrop. And it's a really successful project. Well, in my eyes, it was
Love
successful.
it.
Comparing it to React and so forth and Kubernetes, probably not. And this year we're going to build another SaaS platform with the community. It's going to be a job board, but we want to focus on remote globally and also open source roles. And we really want to try and bridge that gap. I really think there is a gap to be bridged there, especially with the current difficulties and challenges that are in the job market. I think they're always there, but they kind of increase and decrease with time. So I just want to try and work with some subject matter experts and how we can improve that. I'm not trying to disrupt it in terms of using loads of AI stuff or anything crazy like that. I had thought about that, but to be honest, I think even with the kind of standard systems, but improving them, for me as a developer, I have hardly used job boards or recruiters because of the content that I created in the open source that I've done. That's again what I want for everyone else. But I still think sometimes that we don't have time to do open source. We don't have time to create content. It does take time and effort. Even if you document your journey, it's a lot easier. I don't feel I create content. I feel I document my journey. But I still think another job board is needed. And there are some amazing companies that struggle to fill roles as well. And I just think, wow, there's amazing people here. There's amazing jobs here. How are they not connecting, sort of thing? Yes, I tried to do it manually with DMs and so forth, but I think it would be better if there's somewhere we could do that. So we're going to be working on that this year. Of course, it's going to be open source, and if anyone wants to get involved, you know where to find me in the Eddie Hub Discord. I'm there every day, and I'd love to geek out with people. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's it for those of projects. In terms of travel, I think we're going to do the usual Thailand for a few months, maybe Vietnam and a few places in Southeast Asia as well. We might have a few sneaky trips to like Norway for React Norway there, and obviously Portugal again for a few months too, and then a couple of months in UK as well.
God, that sounds amazing. Yeah, you inspire me. I got that dog, so it's not like I just pop over and live somewhere else for a couple months because we have the dog. But
That is difficult,
I
yeah.
don't know. I might try to figure out something for a longer stint over in Spain next year.
Oh, perfect. Yes, do that. We'll be in Portugal, so we're not too far away.
Yeah. I have a couple friends over there, Bart and Courtney, who are like, "You've got to get out of the US and come live here with us." Not with
That's not.
in this.
I know what you mean, but it's not Bart and Courtney from Tech Twitter, is it? That are really active on Twitter.
Courtney Nickerson and Bart Farrell, probably.
Yes, probably because if it's the same people, I'll check afterwards. I'm terrible with surnames, but they were talking about. I was speaking to Bart on Tech Twitter, about them going to Spain and leaving, the US and all the rest. So it might actually be the same people. So that's awesome. Such a small world.
It is a small world. It's because good people, we all kind of get together and we keep inviting more people in and
Exactly.
yeah, we try to keep the good people around. So thank you, Eddie, so much for the conversation. I definitely appreciate it and
Thank
look forward
you.
to hearing more about your job board SaaS project in when you get that ready in next month.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll get started next month doing research and planning at the moment. So always
Okay.
the harder stage.
Yeah. Thanks, Eddie. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.